Well, there it is, just started. The snow I was telling you about in the last video. And it's supposed to continue until tomorrow afternoon. This is not good. Well, here was the end result. It wasn't as bad as we expected. They said 3 to 6 inches. We got about 3, maybe 3.5. But it's still freezing out here. The temperature was 3 degrees when I got up this morning. Well, hello again. Before we start this next video, I want to go ahead and start doing a little bit of derusting. We don't have a lot of rust, just a little bit right there, as you can see along the top edge, and some right there, and I think maybe a little bit along this edge right here. That's about it. And if I see any other spots, I'll take care of them too. I'm just going to use a Q-tip with some navel jelly. They used to sell it at Walmart. They don't sell it anymore. I don't know why. I can't figure that one out. Anyway, what we're going to do, I'm just going to put a little bit along there like that. You can let this stuff sit for 12 hours, 15 hours, 20 hours. It doesn't matter, as long as you keep it wet. And I'll probably keep this stuff on there for, I don't know, 3-4 hours. There's not much rust there. Works really well. It really does for this kind of stuff. Q-tips is the way to do it. You can guide it and, you know, put it exactly where it needs to go without slopping it all over. The only thing you got to be careful of is not to put it there. The bottle says don't put it on chrome or aluminum, but I'll tell you the honest truth, I've never seen any problem with either one of them. But I'm not going to do it anyway. I accidentally got it on a few times, you know, and I said, oh no, don't worry about it. Okay. Alrighty, now we can set that aside while we get back to our first subject, the meat of the matter for this next video. I have been contacted in a comment by one of our good subscribers. I don't know whose name, he didn't leave it. Which reminds me, before we even get started on that too, from now on, if a person comes in, leaves a comment, doesn't leave a name, I'm going to delete the comment. That is so rude and inconsiderate, even if it is social media. It's rude, it's inconsiderate. In my mind, it shows a lack of proper upbringing. You know, a little bit of manners goes a long way. You know, just leave a first name. I don't care if it's a fake name. At least leave a name, okay? We're doing a lot here trying to provide things to help other people. The least they can do is, you know, provide, you know, make their comment and everything, and then just sign it, I don't know, Jehoshaphat. I don't care, okay? Just anybody who doesn't leave a name from now on, their history, they're gone, okay? And I've been doing this a long time, and I've been putting up with it for years. I just think it's just so rude. Okay, getting back to this, the comment he made though was very valid. It was a good point, and I think I better tell you about it. Where it involves these tubes again, these metal tubes, and this one here is also. So we're going to cover a little bit more than that, and then we're going to shut this video off. It won't be very long. Now, I went over last time in the last video, that the 6F6 tube comes in metal and glass. Alright? That is that tube right there. Now, the second tube I want to mention is the 6K7. It also comes in metal and glass. The 6K7 is this puppy right here. It doesn't look exactly like the 6F6. As you can see, it's got a grid cap on it. And but it does still require pin 1 to be grounded if you use it in a radio. You know, that's no problem. If you're not sure, you go to your tube manual, which I hope every one of you get, and you can even look them up online. You really don't need a tube manual. They have them all online now. You can look them up, just type them in. They'll give you the pin out and show you everything you need to know. And you can print those things out. You know, print out each tube you want, and because I'm eventually going to mark every one of these tubes with this pencil. You know, what pin is what number on these tubes, you know, 1, 2, 3, whatever. And but here's the rub. Here's what the gentleman that or lady, I'm not sure, like I said, who it is. Here's what they said. He pointed out that, yeah, pin 1 in the tube manual shows the pin not connected to anything. But if you're using a metal tube, you of course have to connect ground. Well, some of these radios have the glass tube. Now, does pin 1 have to be connected for that? Of course not. The manufacturer will leave the pin empty, the connector empty. He will not put anything there. At least until he discovers that, hey, we have an unused pin right here. We can use that as a tie point to move to the other side of the chassis. So we can run a wire to there, solder it up, run a second wire from there that has voltage to another point in the chassis. Take a little shortcut, a little neater, makes it look good. And what happens is the glass tube burns out at some point, and then a person will grab the metal tube. Goes, oh, I got it. It has a 6K. It's a 6F6, and here's one right here. We can just use that. It's just a metal tube, no problem. We'll stick that one in there in place of the glass tube. Well, guess what? Pin number 1 is no longer grounded. I just told you they used it as a tie point with the glass tubes, and it may have voltage on it now. So when you plug this baby in, you don't have a ground on pin 1. You got voltage. Same thing applies to the 6K7. 6K7, look over there. It's exactly the same pin out almost as the 6F6. You see right there, pin number 1 is blank, not connected to anything, and they'll use that as a tie point. Alright, so now we know what can happen if you try to plug any metal tube into a socket that had previously had glass in there. What you need to do is you need to check. I told you in the last video, go to the bottom, look at the bottom, look at your schematic first of all. Look at your socket on the bottom and find out whether it's grounded or not. If it's not grounded and there's nothing there at all, yeah, you can go ahead and connect a ground wire to it and fasten it to some grounding point on the chassis. But if it's being used by voltage to go another place in the radio, they may tie on with a wire and connect it up and then run another wire up here and around, connect to something else here and then run the wire down here. They don't always run a straight wire all the way around to where it needs to go. They sometimes use little pieces, and they'll piecemeal it all the way around to where it needs to go, and there may be voltage on there. Now, don't disconnect those wires. if it had a glass tube and the wires are connected to pin 1, whether they have voltage or not, the only way you can find out, of course, is to fire up the radio and start playing around with your multimeter. If they have wires connected to them, leave them. Just go back with a glass tube. All right. I hope I'm making sense with this. These manufacturers used tie points many times. I covered this in one of my schematics a while back. Let me show you what I'm talking about. A little bit more, and then I'll leave this go. What you see here is a wire that goes all the way across on the schematic and all the way up to here. Now, that doesn't mean it goes all the way across the radio. This point right here in the actual chassis underneath, this point right here, and this resistor connected to it, may only be, you remember, it has to go up and connect up here. From here to here may only be that far. It depends on where the components are located, but they have to lay it out in a schematic like this so it makes sense. Okay? Got it? Got it. Well, it's the next day. I soaked this thing all night in navel jelly and kept it nice and wet, and I had to take the dogs out, for their little business around midnight, and I put a little bit more on. So I think we about got it right here. So what I'm going to do is just spray it with hot water. Yes, I'm spraying it with hot water in the sink. I mean, we're going to be putting it in the ultrasonic cleaner here shortly. Well, as expected, the rust is all gone. I'm real happy with that. She's all disappeared. So what we're going to do now is open up the blades all the way. Then I'm going to stick it down in here like so. Let me see which way is best. I'll probably have to flip it one way and then turn it over and do the other way. And we're going to have some kind of cleaner. Well, what kind of cleaner you put in there? Anything you want. You can put bleach. This is metal, okay? You can put a little bleach. You don't have to, flood it with bleach, but I'm going to use pine sol. That's what I got. I've used all sorts of stuff in there. Mr. Not Mr. Clean, but some kind of a, maybe it is Mr. Clean. I don't know. I've used that and all sorts of stuff. And Kaboom. I've used Kaboom cleaner. Wifey used to have the Kaboom cleaner, but I'm just going to put a little bit in there like so. There's a maximum you can fill these ultrasonic cleaners up with. This cleaner, by the way, Wifey bought it for me years ago. It's worked fine. Got it at Harbor Freight, I believe, and it was like $45 on sale. Now they're wanting 90 bucks for them. Unbelievable. So anyway, we'll go ahead and plug this sucker in now. It has both heat and vibration capability. We'll go ahead and move this around a little bit. There we go. Put the old lid on it, and then we're going to turn it on. And this is temperature. That makes it hot. This goes up. I don't know how far it goes. Like I think 480 is max. 480 seconds is what that is, I think. I've run it through 2 times, and it looks nice and clean now. Nice and clean. And there have been times when I've run a variable capacitor through 10, 12 times. They were so nasty. But they came clean. You got to help them a little bit with a toothbrush, you know, here. And you got to be patient with this. And it should turn quite easily right now, but it's, there you go. Yeah, she's good. And then after I get the bearings oiled, it'll be even better. Anyway, don't let it sit out too long. I'm going to put this thing in the oven on warm. And you know, just let it sit there probably 10-15 minutes at the most. And then while that's happening, I'm going to go ahead and put the light diffuser and dial holder assembly in there and run it through a couple of times as well. In the next video, we're going to go ahead and remove these 2 electrolytic capacitors. A lot of people refer to them as capacitor cans, but they're actually capacitors. And we'll start cleaning up on the chassis here a little bit. We'll talk about these. There's something I want to show you underneath. We'll do a little bit of cleanup on the chassis, and then maybe even change out a capacitor or 2. Until next time, this is John.